I'm Tom Parker, and welcome to Voices from the CEPS Ideas Lab. In this episode, I spoke with Professor Maria Leptin. Professor Leptin is President of the European Research Council and chairs the ERC's governing body, the ERC Scientific Council. During our interview, we discussed how to structure a large-scale initiative on AI in Europe, the funding required, and how to attract top talent into research and academic careers. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Well, hi Maria, thank you very much for coming to talk to me today.
Hi Tom, good to be here. So many pressing issues, great to be able to discuss them.
Well, absolutely, and one pressing issue is that there's been discussions about large-scale AI initiatives that Europe needs to create. There have been certain examples given. Do you think there should be one more like CERN, for example, more like the European Molecular Biology Lab, or yet another sort of governance model?
Interesting questions, and I may or may not be the right person to have a view on it. Actually, I think the right people to have a view on it are the AI researchers. Because, as the ERC president, that's our philosophy. The researchers on the ground know best. Now, as you said, names like CERN for AI have been mentioned. Also, EMBL, European Molecular Biology Lab, has been mentioned. They're somewhat different. CERN is a big infrastructure that has one place and lots of people come to it. AI is very different. You can have dispersed infrastructures. EMBL is a research lab with a defined aim of supporting molecular biology. Again, AI is everything.
Yeah.
So that kind of closing in, top-down definition doesn't make sense to me. I really think the researchers know best. And surprise, surprise, the researchers have come up with their own solutions already. There's two. One used to be called CLAIRE, where L stands for labs and A for AI and so on. It's now called CERN. And the other is called ELIS, where L stands for learning, or again, I can never remember. These are grassroots associations of researchers who've got together to figure out what's best to promote and support AI in Europe. And they're amazing. They have programs for training, they have projects, they have policy. It's there. All that needs to be done is to trust the researchers and let them get on with it and shower them with money if possible.
Do you think there needs to be more money showered upon them?
Well, stuff costs money, and they do need more infrastructure. They do need more computing power. Even though DeepSeek has now shown that it may not have to be as much as we initially thought, but there needs to be more money. There also needs to be more money for fundamental research. I was talking to a researcher in the field, and she said, we shouldn't be so obsessed with catching up. We should be obsessed with allowing the minds that we have to make the next discovery that will allow us to make the step after the next, or even that. So, invest for the future, rather than trying to sort of catch up now.
Do you think there's also perhaps an issue around talent? And if so, what would you advice be to make academic careers more attractive to top talent in Europe?
Well, again, money helps.
Okay.
And it's very hard to compete with top industry. We see that in academic circles. Not only in AI, it's extreme there.
And not only in Europe as well? Or?
No, not only in Europe as well. It's the same in the US.
Yeah.
The top companies, they compete. big time. So we can't actually compete with those salaries. But there are people who go into this kind of work not for the money they earn, but for the freedom to discover. And the freedom, that's the point. Freedom, freedom, freedom to pursue your ideas. No strings attached. Little bit of long-term perspective, you know, if you want to do risky stuff, you can't be expected to write a report after half a year. So stable funding with complete freedom. That's what makes an academic career attractive.
Well, you talk about freedom, but there's speculation about the reduction of independence of the ERC in the next multi-annual financial framework. What's your position on that?
Well, I think what the greatest concern about the next MFF is that research won't be protected from annual reconsideration. So that gets back to what I just said about stability. So really a good research program needs long-term stability. And if every year there might be a chance that there's only half as much money, we can't commit to funding the researchers. So that's the greater concern, that we really need a ring-fenced budget, especially for fundamental research. Independence, governance, the ERC was founded to be different from what was otherwise done. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a need to fund something else. You know, there was a research program at the EU level. So it was founded to be different. There wasn't enough time to give it a tailor-made structure. So it had to run with an agency.
Yeah.
And of course, the agency reports to the Commission. Quite rightly, you know, democratically elected government with an executive body, the Commission has an agency. But it's not tailor-made. Whereas what makes the ERC successful is exactly that it has its tailor-made processes. So if you think about it, it makes a lot more sense to think, what is it that will allow this to flourish further? I think that's the point, that one really needs to think, go back to basics and think what works best.
When you look at other global regions and the research councils that they have set up, you know, what are they perhaps doing well that the ERC needs to do more, or is the ERC sort of leading and others need to follow as well?
So let me be clear. One thing that the ERC is doing fantastically well, and that is never under threat, is the actual evaluations and selection, the peer review process.
Yeah.
And it does it very well. Details about the process it may do better than some others, but the process as such is what makes out the core excellence of any such funding program. And that is not unique. So my own country, I'm from Germany, has the DFG, same process. And they're completely independent from the ministry. Ministry provides the money and then leaves them alone, completely. In the US, I mean, the US is currently a bad example, but we're still hoping that their rules and their checks and balances will protect them. Same thing. NIH, NSF, same thing. And then private foundations like the Howard Hughes in the US or the Wellcome Trust in the UK, same process. So there are many examples of what works. And, you know, all of these organizations show that they can fund top researchers. So that's fine. But there is the implementation, you know, the nitty-gritty day-to-day stuff that should be there to serve these processes.
So then if you had as our leaving question, if you, in say 30 seconds, could really have a call to action about what needs to happen on the implementation side that you just said, what needs to really, really improve here, what would it be?
Well, I think an independent body needs an independent structure and agency to work with them. And, you know, there's fantastic people So I don't have a recipe because that's not my experience, but I think that's it. A body that reports to the other body, the governing body that sets the strategy.
Well, brilliant. Maria, thank you so much for your time today. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.